Hello, everybody. I'm EBar. Tonight, myself, Shane, and Finest will be talking about Avengers: Infinity War. For some reason, while we were recording this, while we were doing it, the camera was switching to Shane when he would talk. But as I watched the first few minutes of this, it's not switching to Shane. So you'll basically be able to hear Shane talk, but won't be able to see him. But it does switch to Finest, so it's not just me the entire time. Just wanted to put a disclaimer out there. Sorry that happened. Don't ask me. I don't know. Enjoy the episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Street Fight Club podcast, the #1 podcast on YouTube. I'm EBar. And today I'm being joined, it's been a while, the one Shane Storm is here. What's up, dude? How are you?
Hey, biggest crossover in our podcast is, oh, wait, Chad and Matt didn't come, so.
Oh, yeah. And we've had these three people on before.
This is like Avengers 1, like there's nothing special.
That's true. It's sad. Oh, and we also have the other one, Finest Massey is here. What's up?
#1 co-host of the #1 pod show on the internets.
That's it. That's what we're doing. So anyway, we all were really scared of spoilers in social media, so we all saw Avengers already. so I think that's what we're going to talk about, and I think just full warning, obviously, this is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, you probably want to click away or just stay and watch us talk about a movie you haven't seen. That's fine too. I don't mind it. And it actually would help me out if you did that.
I mean, I feel like if you haven't seen the movie, you either don't care or you shouldn't be on the internet because everybody's talking about it. The whole world's talking about it.
There's no way to avoid it at this point. It's like a minefield out there.
Yeah,
if you're on social media, you know something that happened in the movie.
If you go on any type of social media, it's over for you. I'm sorry. And that's what I was so afraid of. Because I like the Facebook. Yeah. So anyways, I guess first of all, just like what overall did you think of the movie as a whole? Let's start with that, and then we'll go to more individual pieces. What do you say? Either one of you.
Well, first let's address Finest's setup here. Did he test that at all? I mean, I can't even see his face. All I see is this ceiling fan behind him. I mean, that's pretty embarrassing. There, that's a little better.
Yeah, just get it on it, buddy.
What is wrong with Shane? Oh God. Oh God.
He's losing it.
Okay, it was better before. Just put it back, man.
Is that better?
Why are you looking down at us?
Because it's like, damn, my computer's like down from me.
Is that how much you think of it? No, please don't do that.
Are we just going to do this for 2 hours?
No, all right. Finest, give us your general impressions.
It's really hard to judge these movies when like right after you see them, because you have this tendency to be like, oh, that's the best one.
No, yeah, that's
just because it's so recent in your mind, like this is the best one that I've seen. It's definitely in the top 5 of the 19 movies or whatever that they've made to this point.
What other ones come close?
I'm a huge fan of Winter Soldier. I think that's one of the best ones.
It's really good. I agree.
Yeah.
The first Avengers is really hard to capture that moment of them coming together for the first time again.
People have kind of retroactively talked down on that one, but I like the original Avengers.
Agreed.
The original Iron Man is fantastic. And I would say Thor Ragnarok probably rounds out the top 5.
I might throw Civil War in there. I like that one quite a bit.
Really good too.
But
surprisingly, the Captain America trilogy is the best of the series.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But anyway, so overall, I thought it was a great movie. There was a lot of potential for it to be bad, with so many characters and so much plot. I mean, I felt like even at 2 hours and 50 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever it was, it still felt like I watched 3 movies worth of information in there. But I didn't feel like I was bored sitting in the seat or whatever. And that was one of the things. One of the things that I gauged that from was my son, my 10-year-old son. Like, he didn't ever want to go up and go to the bathroom. He didn't get fidgety. Like, he sat there the whole time, and he even waited till the in trailer thing. And a lot of times, my kids are just, they are done once that movie's over, and like, what the hell? Why do you want to sit here and wait for this? So I thought it was a great movie. It had a couple of flaws. One being, and this is kind of spoilery, that we know a lot of the major things that happen in this movie are going to be erased. So while there's some real threat and real consequences to a certain point, there's also, that 75% of this is going to be erased. Also, I don't appreciate the marketing that Marvel said that this was a one-part movie, like a self-contained movie, when obviously at the end of this, it's not resolved, and it's definitely a part 1.
Oh, see, I like that. I like that they're throwing us off the trail and like making us question. I kind of like that because that kind of changes my expectations for what the movie was going to be. So then I'm thinking like, I keep thinking towards the end like, okay, we got to wrap this up. You need to get this done, and then it threw me for a loop when it wasn't wrapped up.
Right. Whenever the credits come up, I don't think anybody was expecting them. Whoa, fine, relax. I don't think anybody was expecting the credits to hit right then, because they were like,
no.
What the hell? Okay, this bad, horrible thing happened, so let's go ahead and fix that. Oops, the end of the movie. Okay. I would definitely say it's the Empire Strikes Back of Marvel movies, in my opinion, because it ends on downers, total downer.
The most the most downer of any Marvel movie.
You can't. There's no way to be more of a downer than that movie, for real.
It's even a downer for the villain. Like, he doesn't really seem happy at the end either.
Well, how could he? I mean, he fucking had to kill his own daughter that he actually did apparently love, because it got him the Spirit Stone. Shane, overall, what did you think?
Well, let's address the sad stuff while we're here. It started, okay, so Thanos wins. Despite Thor's actions, he wins, snaps his fingers, and now people are disappearing. He's killing half the universe. Okay. So I'm like, oh wow, they're going for this, and I'm like, this is fine. Okay, wow, there's some big deaths, and then like Black Panther disappears, and I'm like, oh well, this isn't gonna stick. But to their credit, like, did they know Black Panther was gonna be a huge hit when they filmed and wrote that part? But continuing, then I'm like, you know what? Okay, none of this is gonna stick. This is fine. But then, boy. We come to Spider-Man, who...
Oh, my God, yeah. So sad.
Good God.
I know it's not going to stick, but, boy, it is so well done that's the only... The rest of it didn't get me too much emotionally, but the Spider-Man thing, the father-son dynamic, the fact that his spider sense is probably what told him... Nobody else really got to react, but Spider-Man, his spider sense was like, hey, something's wrong.
He felt that it was coming. Yeah.
Right. And to their credit, Felicia, my wife, has not seen Spider-Man Homecoming. And that scene even worked for her. So they do enough in the movie to show you the relationship between Tony Stark and Spider-Man. And that death is so well done that it even worked on her.
It just seemed like a classic death. Like, the slow, I don't want to go thing, and like, I don't want to die too young and stuff.
And as he's in Stark's arms, starts disappearing, man. It's just...
I agree with Shane that, like, the father-son thing really drives it home. In fact, it's sad that Spider-Man's dying, but it's even sadder the guilt that that Tony Stark is taking on, because he gave him that suit, he wanted him to go back to Earth, but then he kind of reluctantly went along with him being part of the adventure or whatever, and he still died.
Well, and two, Spider-Man acts like he's ready. He continually pushes himself and acts like he's ready. But then in that moment, he's clearly not. He wasn't ready for what was coming. It's just that part was really, really well done. I thought of all the downer parts, that part worked the best.
I think there were two other good parts, two other good downer parts. One, whenever, and I think we also have to mention this point that they do such a great job of mixing the tones. Like, it's straight up comedy sometimes, and then they can switch it, just at the, snap of the fingers, and it doesn't feel jarring. Because there's comedy in the scene where the Guardians meet Thanos, but also really sad parts too. But the two sad parts both have to do with Peter Quill. One, whenever he finally makes the decision to kill Gamora so that she can't tell the decision, or she can't tell her secret or whatever to Thanos. Like, just the look on Peter Quill's face, I thought was really sad that he had finally decided to do this horrible thing of killing his possible girlfriend or whatever she is. And then later, whenever he completely fucks up their plan and really is the reason everyone gets murdered, because they would have had the glove off of his hand, and punches him in the face or whatever. That was really sad.
So let's talk about that, because a lot of people are very upset with Star-Lord right now, and a previously very beloved character, and now people are mad because they are basically saying, hey, it's his fault that everybody died because they almost had the gauntlet. What do you guys think about that?
That seems true to character, though, right? Like, Star-Lord's always kind of been that's his flaw, is that he can become emotional about the people closest to him. Like, it's invoked in this movie she tells him to swear on his mother, and like that's a big emotional beat because he was so connected to his mother. And in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, when he finds out that his father is the one who essentially killed his mother, he flies in a very similar manner. He flies off the handle despite the threat. That felt in character to me. And honestly, if we're going to blame anybody, it's Gamora, right? She's the one that led Thanos to the Soul Stone.
Wow. I mean, that's a good point.
To her credit, though, she did try to kill herself like 3 times.
True. And I think she thought, like, he can't. I think she was so confident that he couldn't get the Soul Stone, even if she showed. She must have been, because otherwise, why would she take him there? She just must have thought he can't get it.
Well, that he couldn't possibly love anyone.
Right.
Like, she didn't realize that he actually loved her all these years, the way he was treating her or whatever.
Right.
So speaking of the Soul Stone, what about Red Skull?
So apparently at the end of Captain America, he gets sucked into the stone or something and taken to that other planet?
That's what it must have been.
Yeah, I watched a recap, and it's like, he's holding it, and it like sucks him in, and then he's gone. So I guess it makes sense story-wise. I liked it. I was afraid it was going to be some other unknown character, so I actually appreciated that it was like a callback to that. It did seem a little strange, and in the moment, I didn't realize that it wasn't Hugo Weaving. Kind of lame that they had to recast.
It wasn't?
Nah, yeah, they recast it.
I mean, what could he have possibly been doing?
I guess it doesn't matter if none of us knew that it wasn't him.
Yeah, I didn't know in the moment. I didn't see his name in the credits, but I wasn't really thinking about looking for his name, so whatever. But then later, I just read online that it wasn't him, so
talking about surprise characters. There was a lot of talk before the movie came out about who Peter Dinklage was going to be because his name was in the credits on the poster or whatever. What do you guys think about his character?
I mean, I don't know. I've never read comics that had that character, so it's not like to me that he wasn't true to character or something. What
do you think about him being the giant dwarf? Like, did you think that worked?
Did he just sign on the dotted line? They were like, "You're going to be a dwarf, but you'll be bigger than any other character." And he was just like, "Yeah, okay, I'm doing it."
And also, it's Avengers, so money.
I thought he was fine. His voice was a little weird. I don't know why they went with that. He kind of had a weird thing going on, but I liked him fine. I like that storyline. That's a storyline that makes sense. Like I just thought I could appease him, but then he killed everybody anyway.
That was another moment. I enjoyed that. I enjoy Thor sacrificing himself or whatever, and to make the machine work.
And
I totally
and also finally
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I totally thought that was going to be another sad moment whenever they were looking for the handle and Groot uses his arm as the handle.
Man, that
I was just like, he's going to kill himself and be the handle for this thing. And but it ended up not happening. But I really thought that was going to happen.
That's what I was about to say, because fucking Groot was being kind of a bitch throughout most of this movie, dude. Like a little punk. And I get it, he's that age or whatever, but still, he did absolutely nothing to help until that moment, which was finally cool and redeemed him back to he is the hero Groot, even though he's technically not the original Groot or whatever. But that was a necessary moment for Groot, because it seemed like they didn't have anything for him leading up to that except being annoying and playing that football game. That's what
it's a cool tie-in, like to have Groot's arm become the handle of the new axe. That's a fun comic booky move. But Finest, you said you were scared that was going to be a sad moment. That's basically the whole movie, right? Like the opening scene is like, look, Thanos can beat Hulk. He just murdered Loki and the Frost Bridge guy. And so then
Heimdall.
Yeah, okay. And then every moment after that is like, ooh, this person might die. Oh, Quill might shoot Gamora. Oh, Groot might die. He might turn into the axe handle and die. Oh, this Iron Man got stabbed real bad. He could die here.
That's true. There was a lot of moments like that.
I do agree. It is a series of escalating moments where you're like, what is going to... I mean, you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? But I think that overall, like, I can think that now, looking back on it, but watching the movie, I don't think I ever felt that way. Like, I don't ever felt like I was being cheated or anything. You know what I mean?
No, and I was invested. I'm a big proponent of shorter movies. And so then I go into this thing and I'm like, 2.5 hours plus 20 minutes of trailers plus the credits. I'm thinking, But I never thought like, okay, is this thing wrapping up? I was constantly, wondering where we were headed and entertained. So I was never, it never felt cheap in that aspect. And actually, I was afraid they wouldn't be able to service everybody because there's so many characters, but really it jumped around pretty well. It kind of kept you a pace of where everybody was. There were times when I wondered, like, okay, well, what's happening with Doctor Strange and Iron Man on that ship? That seems like the most important storyline. What are they doing? But overall, I thought it did a nice job of keeping everybody updated.
Have you ever seen a movie with that big of a cast, that many main characters, do that well juggling them? It has never been done.
No, I for sure expected this movie to be a disappointment. I mean, Black Panther was so successful and well done that I thought, oh boy, here we go. This thing's gonna be overstuffed. It's gonna have too much, but they really handled it pretty well. It's really probably one of the best case scenarios that we have for this plan. I mean, exactly what they planned, starting back in 10 years ago. It worked exactly how they wanted.
I mean, honestly, I kind of thought that if any characters were going to be disserviced in this movie, that since it is the Avengers, that it would be the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like maybe they just wouldn't be that important to the plot. But they were interwoven in fantastically, in my opinion, and especially because they kind of split up the Guardians to go with the other Avengers and stuff. I thought that was a really good idea, and it's just interesting seeing all these characters you already know so well interact with the other characters that you know so well. And I think they killed it, man. I agree with you guys. There were no like lull points in the movie where you're just like, all right, let's get it going. It was just nonstop entertainment. Really good.
I was going to say the same thing, that I think that this is just as much Guardians 3 as it is Avengers 3. Like, I felt like...
True.
I mean, you could have called it a Guardians movie and it would have been the same movie. I mean, I wouldn't have felt any differently about it.
Well, if anything, they gave the least storyline to the original Avengers. I mean, Hawkeye's not in it. Captain America, who's one of my favorites, really doesn't have a lot to do here. I mean, he's in it, but not a whole lot. It's kind of similar to Black Widow. She's there. She has some fights, but no big role. The Hulk can't come out for some weird reason, so he doesn't really get much. I mean, Iron Man and Thor are very forefront, but the rest of the original Avengers really kind of get pushed to the side.
I thought that's another big part of the movie is the Hulk thing, and I thought that was a pretty good idea for the film because it's something they touch in the comics all the time about how it's like a mental situation and him battling with battling with the Hulk inside of him or whatever, and like basically, I guess what they're trying to say is that the Hulk got so scared from being beaten by Thanos that he didn't want to ever come out again for fear that he wasn't as superior as he thought he was or whatever.
But
I just
also,
like that idea.
they got to write a bunch of like impotent jokes, you know, like performance issues, he can't get the Hulk out.
I think it's interesting. It's interesting though that you bring up that some of the actual Avengers weren't at the forefront, because now the original Avengers are like the only ones that are still alive. So for the next one, you know, which is only a year away, sucks that it's that long, but also is good because it's not that long. I feel like they're going to be featured more as the original team. They have to be, basically, it would seem like.
Sure, let's do speculation. I think that's clearly on purpose. What you just said, the original Avengers are the last ones left, and so that feels like for Part 4, we're getting it's our original guys that are going to have to save the day, but at what cost? So that's the thing.
I don't think they're all making it.
Right. So
Iron Man's got to die. Out of any of them, Iron Man's got to go. Robert Downey Jr. is tired of doing that. They've got plenty of people to step up in his place. War Machine, whatever. He's going to go for sure.
So
Maybe
right. So this movie kind of subverted our expectations, is because everybody was expecting Captain America or Iron Man, some of the original guys that go. Well, they all survived, but that kind of makes me think they're setting it up that they will be the ones to win, but it's going to cost a lot of that original team.
Right. And in the next one, they'll bring in the Hulk, and he'll be even more powerful than he was before and help save the day or whatever. So it's more of a spectacle when he comes back out.
Right. I hope him not coming out in the first part pays off really well in the second part, much like his "That's my secret, I'm always angry" in the first Avengers. One of the best parts of that movie. I feel like they're probably setting us up for another moment like that.
Right. It's kind of the Jaws effect. Like if he's out all the time, it's not as cool.
Right.
All right, guys, let's talk about.
Years cool when Thor came down and just started trashing people. If the Hulk had just been sitting on the battlefield breaking faces.
Yeah,
really.
I agree. Whenever Thor came back and he had his shit, fucking, one of the coolest moments in the movie. But yeah, let's talk about this. Okay, so Doctor Strange meets Iron Man and Spider-Man, right? He says, under no circumstances, whatever it takes, if it comes down to you or protecting this, I'm protecting this, okay? So then whenever it does come down to it, and he says, and he's about to kill Tony, he's like, hey, spare his life, I'll give you the stone. He saw it 14 million times. There was only one way that worked. And as Doctor Strange is fading away, he says this was the only way or something like that. So does everybody dying, Peter Quill punching Thanos, all that shit have to happen for them to eventually win?
I think that this plays into Shane's theory. Iron Man has to live because he's the one that's going to take down Thanos in the next movie and possibly sacrifice his life in the meantime.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
and also maybe just to stall and get enough time for Captain Marvel to come, because we don't know how powerful they're going to make her in the movie. Obviously, she's going to be part of the next one.
Right.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Eric. I think that's a key to the puzzle. The fact that we see him say, I looked at all the possible futures and there was only one, which when he's like, Iron Man's like, well, how many of them did we win? And some guy in my theater's like, none.
Got a real comedian.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think that's key. He saw all the possible outcomes, and this is part they had to lose to win, which kind of goes back to his original movie. Like the villain in his movie, which I couldn't even tell you his name, he has to lose repeatedly to beat him. Just like, I'm not gonna stop doing this. So I think you're right. I think it's all part of the plan. This is how it had to be to win.
Right.
And I know that this is kind of nitpicky, but like, I don't think that the stones are ever fully like explained. Like, they have these all power things. Like, if you got this reality stone that can turn bullets into bubbles, why fight those guys at all? Like, why not just change reality to whatever you want it to be and get the other stone? Like, why? I don't know.
That makes sense, but I think he's not like. I mean, how long has he wielded this power? Not that long, right?
Right.
So, although it seems like you just have it in your hands and you know what the fuck is going on, maybe he's not perfect with it. I don't know. I mean, you're absolutely right, because in certain moments he uses it exactly to his advantage, but in that moment he really didn't, or later in the later fights with people. So I don't know. I'd agree.
I thought that too. Like, it seems like he should be more powerful, but too, that's a possible explanation that he's new to it. Some of it's just cinematic. Like, we need these battles to be interesting, but then also, like, maybe he's just toying with them. Maybe he knows he's in control, and if it got too out of hand, he could summon some other power to change the fight. Maybe part of it's like ego on Thanos' part, that these fights are not important to me. Let's see what these people are made of. Because when Iron Man does everything he can do, Thanos says, I admire you. I think I hope they remember you because you're a fighter.
That's true. I mean, also, and if you make your villain too overpowered, like, obviously he's much more powerful than everybody, save for maybe Thor. But if you make him just invincible, then you take away a lot of the entertainment value.
Right.
So
that kind of brings me to another point. Have we seen a movie up to this point that is any more comic booky? Like, I felt like every moment was like a comic book in this movie. Like, the battle where they were using Doctor Strange's power to let Spider-Man zoom in and punch him and then zoom back out or whatever. I was just like, that seems like something I would read in a comic book. Like, it seems, I don't know. I've never seen anything that seemed more like a comic book coming to life than this movie.
Yeah, and like that's like when I see Red Skull come back, that feels so like a comic book move to bring in a character that you thought was gone, and like, here they are. And the splitting up of the teams, like Thor going with some of the Guardians, like all that stuff. And then we're introducing giant space dwarfs, and like, this movie was full weird. Like, just what could they throw at you to be more strange? And we're the whole audience is buying in. Like, okay, that's a giant space dwarf that Thanos had.
I didn't even blink at it.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, it's fine. He killed everybody and made his hands metal. That's totally makes sense.
I mean, if you've accepted everything that's happened thus far in these 18 or whatever other movies, you're on board. So, nothing really is going to seem that unexpected. I think it would have to be something just really fucking weird for people to be like, I don't know about that. I don't know if we needed a space molestation scene, but, whatever.
This movie also makes me think that I really hope that Sony does not fuck up Spider-Man, because this is the best Spider-Man that we've ever had. Like, he's just, every moment that he's in is a winning moment in my book. Like, he acts like a kid. He acts like Spider-Man does in the comics. He's the Spider-Man that I knew when I was a kid. Like, Tobey Maguire really nailed the dramatic part of being Spider-Man, especially in Spider-Man 2 or whatever. But I think that Tom Holland really embodies what I think of when I think of Spider-Man.
Especially high school Spider-Man, because the fact is, and don't get me wrong, I like those, Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, but he didn't feel like a high school student to me, and neither did Kirsten Dunst, to be honest with you. Like, they seem too old for those roles, and I know that that's something that's happened in Hollywood for decades upon decades, but still, I like him. If he's going to be high school Peter Parker, make him at least close to high school age. That's what I feel like, and I think he's killing it.
But I like that Spider-Man is way out of his league. Like, he's way above his pay grade. He's out in the middle of space, and he's used to, like, getting people that are robbing ATMs and stuff. But he's still cracking jokes. He's still talking about movies, or like he came up with that aliens plot or plan or whatever to get the guy out in space. Like, I love that he's like really thinking about pop culture, and he seems like a real teenager to me.
Yeah, hey, Spider-Man 2 still one of the best comic movies of all time. No
Great
hate
movie
there. But yeah, the fact that they've cast someone that really feels like a young high schooler, and every part that he's in meshed so well with what they have done. Really, everything in the movie felt true to their own movie lines. You know, nothing felt like out of character once they were all in the ensemble.
The one I was worried about the most is Guardians, like how that was going to mix in, because even Drax still played like a comic relief in most of the scenes, but he still worked. Like when he had to bring the drama of that guy killed my wife and kids, I'm going to murder him. Like it didn't feel like I was, flipping a switch or something. It felt like that's really how he would have acted.
Well, and Rocket too has these emotional moments in the first two Guardians, like kind of unexpected emotional moments. And even here, he has the thing where he's like, "Well, I gotta talk to Thor and see what he's going through." So that even felt very true to character as far as the Guardians really meshed well with all this stuff.
Well, and then he had made the arm joke that people have been making on the internet for a long time.
Right.
And forever people have been making that Winter Soldier joke.
Yep. Okay, let's do MVPs. Who was the most valuable player in this movie?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Really, man.
I'll go first. You guys think? I've always had a soft spot for Thor. Even though people don't like those first two movies, I've always liked Thor. The third movie was awesome. Finally gave him his due. And, man, he killed it in this thing. Totally killed it. He gets emotional moments. He gets funny moments. Interacting with Quill, that stuff's all great. And he gets the most badass moments. Like, when he comes back from the Frost Bridge, oh, man, he's killing all those people and just going crazy. He's amazing.
That moment whenever he's coming down and he buries the axe into Thanos and you're like, all right, you fucking did it. Cool. Into the 2.5 hours. Yeah. And then he's just like, yeah, you should have went for the head, and snaps his, one of the best moments of the movie for sure.
Agree.
And before, as I was thinking before you said Thor, I was thinking Thor. I mean, really, he had the best character development through the movie, the best moments. I think you're right. I think I'd go with Thor as well.
I think my hot take is going to be Thanos.
Nope.
Because I really, really expected Thanos to be bad, to be like a one-note, crappy, muahaha type of a villain. Like, I just want to take over the universe or kill everybody. But, like, he was really badass. And 3D, they show a gamut of emotion. He feels bad after he's done all this, but also feel like he gets what he wants but isn't happy.
Well, I know that the internet is a weird and creepy place, but I didn't think that I would see so much Thanos defending. Like, people that are on the side of Thanos, like, he was just doing what he thought was right, you know what I mean? It's overpopulation. Really? Oh, my God, I've seen it a lot in Facebook comments and stuff, and it kind of creeps me out, but they do have somewhat of a point. But then I saw someone else that was like, if he's got all this power and resources, why kill half the people? Why not just make more of everything else so that they're not hungry and stuff? Which, If
I don't go with Thanos, my other choice is Peter Quill. Like, I really thought that he's one of my favorite characters in the MCU universe right now. And the MCU universe. But he had to do the most emotional things in this movie, and he was hilarious. Like, I thought him trying to have the voice with Thor was a hilarious scene, and everybody like calling him out on it because that seemed pretty typical of him, like to try to be a badass or whatever when he really isn't. I like that character. I like that Indiana Jones type, John McClane type that that's a badass just because they have the courage to do things, but you know that they could get hurt. Like, he's the most human of all the characters.
Right.
Sure, and both of yours make sense. I mean, at the end of the movie, they say Thanos will return. So, like, clearly they made this movie to develop him and flesh him out. But sure, to think that the Peter Quill of Guardians of the Galaxies, who I had never heard of before I saw the first Guardians movie, to think he has such a big part in this and he's come so far, that's a huge accomplishment, which most of that goes to James Gunn. I wonder how much input he had on this movie.
Said he was a he had a producer credit at the end.
He was pretty proud of it.
Huge shout out to the Russo brothers or whatever, to go from TV to these Avenger movies or whatever and just fucking knocking it out of the park.
They did a terrific job. Absolutely.
All right, well, boys, let's wrap this up. I got tornado warnings going. Let's do it.
What?
All right.
Yeah,
well, okay. You say MVP, so I want funniest moment in the movie. What did you guys think?
Ooh.
And to give you time to think like Shane did, I'm gonna go with how long have you been standing there? An hour. I thought that was hilarious with Drax. Just that moment, like I laughed a few times, but that one actually like brought the laughter out of me. Laughed out loud. So
I had a really laugh out loud moment that hardly anybody else in my theater laughed, so I'll count it. Just because I felt weird for laughing, but whenever Peter Parker's like, "Oh, so that's like a Footloose. You got like a Footloose dance off or whatever," and he's like, "Yeah, the best movie ever," or whatever. He's like, "No, never was the best movie."
That was a pretty good one too.
Okay, I feel like this wouldn't be my most funny moment if I had time to think about it, but I really thought it was funny when they all had the big standoff with each other. That whole scene was really great because Drax has got this huge gun pointing at his face, and he's like, "Do it, Quill. I can take it." And everybody else is just like, "No, he can't."
See, that
has a funny moment where he's like, "Who's your master?" And he's like, "Am I supposed to say Jesus?"
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
That was funny. Yeah. All right, then. Well, we will go ahead and wrap it up. So thanks everybody for watching. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of the movie, what your favorite moments were, and stuff like that. I think that's it. Other than that, like and subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. For Shane and Finest, we're done for the night, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.